Well, I'm going to fast forward several decades actually, and as Tom Lockwood will remember, the electric industry was going through major changes when I was there, and we were trying to meet the new competitive environment that we were involved in, and so a group of us were assigned the responsibility to look at a new name change, look at a new mission for the company, looking for things like goals and objectives, and going through all that for the brand new thing that we had to face. And one of the things that stood out to me, the exercise that we did, was to come up with our core values. We had to get in a room and we brainstormed. And we brainstormed each of our core values that we thought of. We put them around on the wall. Then we were asked to vote on which one we'd take 5, color circle, and we'd go up and put it by each one that we thought was the core value that we wanted. And so we came up with 5 core values that is called excellence, innovation, ethical conduct, intensity, and respect. You know, when I went through that exercise, excellence, innovation, ethical conduct, intensity, and respect, it struck me that those kinds of things were instilled in me growing up in DeLeon, Texas, and going to school here. You know, I reflected on those, the excellence, which I think is typified by the teachers that we have here today, the ex-teachers. You know, I've looked at a lot of professional engineers' technical papers across my desk, and some of them wouldn't meet the muster of Melba Shelby's senior English, you know. So it really, that, Alda Daniels was one I think of, it was in the 8th grade, that really grounded us in our English. Coach Clary would come down at night and try to help us get through those foreign concepts of geometry and trigonometry and things like that. And that's, I think all of us have talked about those experiences. Mr. Repass, many of you don't know that he wrote the fight song for DeLeon High School. And he had innovative halftime shows, always had something interesting that we always enjoyed. So each of those teachers and parents and family has been an experience for us on these core values that we had learned. But there's one core value that I think stands out above all of them, and that's respect. You know, I was thinking about that the other day. Back in the day, the Major League Baseball had the World Series most of the time during the day. Most of the baseball games back in that day were in daylight. And so we would always like to go over to Jackie Morgan's house and watch the end of the World Series games when school was out. Now always the Yankees were my favorite team. I loved them because I guess at that time they were the ones that had the most exposure. But you had Yogi Berra behind the plate, Whitey Ford pitching, you had Moose Skyler at first base, you had Bobby Richardson, on and on, Billy Martin, but Mickey Mantle was my hero. And when he jacked that ball out of the stadium and he rounded the bases, I would remember that when he ran this way with his head down and out. And someone asked him one time why he did that. He said, "I've got too much respect for the pitcher. I don't want him to think that I'm showing him up by making eye contact with him." And you contrast that today. Early this spring, Alex Rodriguez, who's now the famous Yankee of the day, he hit a ball long, single, made it to first base. The next guy up pulled a hard foul ball down the third baseline. By the time he had rounded first, second, and gone to third, he was called back. Well, he did something that is an unspoken rule in baseball. He went directly across the pitcher's mouth. And it made this young little pitcher, no-name pitcher, furious. He said he just didn't show me respect. Well, Alex Rodriguez thinks it's funny. But, you know, I think about some of the things that go on today, some of the hot dogging and some of the things. I don't know what our coaches would have done if we did this, you know. I don't think we would have lasted too long, you know. So I appreciate the respect that was instilled in us. Another point I want to make about respect is about 15 years ago, I was asked to go to Australia because the state of Victoria was selling off its state-owned electric utility and was asking for bidders to come over and make bids, which I went over to look. They broke it up into 5 parks, and we were shortlisted with 5 companies from around the world to buy a particular utility. Electricity de France, London Electricity, Scottish Power, ourselves, and Hong Kong Power. While I was there, little girl, the guy that I was working with in Australia invited me to his house to have dinner with him. And he had a little 12-year-old girl, and while we were sitting around talking about this project, she said, I want the Americans to win. And he said, why? He said, because I have so much respect for them, because during World War II, when Mother England took our boys over to Europe, they came and saved us. And I thought about it because, you see, at that particular time, that was the 50th anniversary of what they call BP Day. We call BJ Day, which is, by the way, next Sunday, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, is 65 years from the victory over Japan. But she said, I just have too much respect for them, and I just wanted to see them win. Well, you know, I was kind of overwhelmed because, see, my dad was over there that 50 years ago from that time with thousands of other soldiers, sailors, who some of them gave their ultimate sacrifice for us, that we could enjoy the life that we live. And I just wanted to read you something that I don't lose it here, that Tom Brokaw wrote in his book, The Greatest Generation. He said, these men and women came of age in the Great Depression when economic despair hovered over the land like a plague. They had watched their parents lose their businesses, their farms, their jobs, and their hopes. They had learned to accept a future that played out one day at a time. Just when there was a glimmer of economic recovery, war exploded across Europe and Asia, and they answered the call to help save the world from the 2 most powerful and ruthless military machines ever assembled. When the war was over, these men and women who had been involved in military, in uniform, and in civilian capacities joined in a joyous and short-lived celebration, then immediately began the task of rebuilding their lives and the world they wanted. They stayed true to their values of personal responsibility, duty, honor, and faith. You know, we, the generations that have followed them, I just wonder, how will history measure us? How will we measure up to this generation that passed? See, right now we live in a time in which economic hardship is probably unsurpassed since that time in the 30s, what they had endured. And certainly there are elements in this world that want to destroy us. So I guess I call on us to respect those that came before us, respect this country and this republic that provided us what we have today, and instill on that the future for the people that come after us. I'd like to finish up by asking everyone to stand, face the flag, and let's say the flag pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much.
really good thoughts that we need to take home with us.